doubting you at all until you said LinkedIn. Then you lost me.
Nah, I could send other videos. This is a long video.
No. I kind of like this because it'll give me time to eat. Yo, chat, listen, we're going to not be on our village idiot shit right now. We're going to act real studious. All right? Too long? It's okay. I don't even want to stream anymore because I've had such a productive day, but I'm going to sit here, eat my meal, and watch this guy cook up some fucking life crack cocaine for us.
There's a section. Hold on.
I don't want the spark notes, Blake. I'm going to watch it.
Okay. All right. I'm going to leave this call. I'll let you.
I love you so much, Blake.
I love you too.
We need to get you on stream more often. This was great. A recurring guest. Pencil yourself into my calendar.
Bro, I need to come in here and help make sure you stay on top of it. 2 weeks. Let's see if you stick to it.
All right, brother. 2 weeks. I shake my hand.
God, dude, that was a nasty noise. I'm not watching.
You don't spit and shake somebody's hand?
I'm not watching your stream. All I heard was.
Well, you're missing out, brother. I'll tell you what. All right, let me go watch these smart people talk about life. Right, I love you, Blake. You're the man. Can we get a W for Blake Robbins in the chat, boys? I shit you not. That guy is way too successful to be spending 3 hours with us on a Google Calendar for me. I mean, the guy literally like started 100 Thieves and put it, in a nice little box with some fucking gift wrap and a bow on top. He made my life very, very easy. And he just continues to deliver. He's wasting his time with you. I know, bro. But that's the problem. Smart, successful people need stupid people they like to hang out with because it makes them feel better about themselves. And I'll be that charity case all day. I'm down. No, Blake's the homie. All right, yo, chat. I love you too, Blake. Unfortunately, I do. I like this guy a lot. All right, chat. Yo, listen. Straight up, we've had a great day. This has been by far and away our greatest performance when it comes to yapping about absolutely fucking nothing. And is this why you hang out with me? No, Mason, that's for other reasons. Other reasons I can't tell you. But I tell you what, it comes at the end of a year of hanging out with you. Somebody sends me a 1099, so you can tell me what that means, bro. I don't know. Yo, billable hours. Yo, listen, chat. This has been a great stream. I know that I'd rather yap for 7 hours than play season 3 rank play at this point. Unless I'm playing with the boys. So today was a nice day for me to just do nothing except for talk. I haven't streamed for the last couple of days, so I've had a lot of pent-up urges. But we got this video, and I'll tell you guys what. I know an hour-long lecture about this guy in a fucking college lecture hall doesn't sound interesting at all. But I'll tell you what. If Blake Robbins tells us we need to watch this video, I think this is going to be a pretty insightful and profound thing to do. So I'm going to put this motherfucker at 1.5. I just want to say before I get down this rabbit hole and before I start eating, because I'm not going to be saying much while I eat. I'm starving. And this is why I was going to turn off the stream, because I don't like to eat while I'm streaming, because I got to sit here and talk with everybody, yada, yada, yada. So I'm not going to watch. 2X is going to be too fast. We'll probably do it a minute and a half, okay? 2X is just fast. It's too fast. Tech, yeah, thank you very much for the Prime. Ya heard with the Prime. Hazuki, thank you. Callaway, thank you. Chells with the Prime, thank you. Dreadful. Jump, MVN, Lil Gravy, Lee DX, Vampire Goose, Joe Purdy, Faded, Dirty Renegade, Dolly, Free JTM, Moomin Rider, Yankees Man, Perkaholic, Jesus. Thank you guys all so much for the subs. Ram Smurpress, Sober, Money Langer, Machete with the 5 earlier. I missed a lot of these subs, but all right, boys, let's fucking ride into the despair of good life advice.
Good morning. Good morning.
He's trying to get everybody to shut the fuck up.
That's pretty good, actually. Thank you. I'm Jay Hartzell. I'm the dean. It's my pleasure to see everybody here today, and thanks for coming out on a Friday. This is one of the craziest weeks on campus all year. We started building into this week and thinking into the year, thinking what's going to be this week, and it turns out people don't mind being around when there's a USC coming on Saturday. So it's a really great week for us to bring back some superstars, and Bill Gurley's definitely one of the So thanks, Bill, for coming back to campus. We've been working on trying to get him back in the right time and the right venue, and we had this conversation around what he wanted to share with our MBA students, and so this is a great chance to get him back. So thank you all for coming out. Thanks to Tina Mabley and her team for arm twisting and making sure that you all knew about this. Also want to thank some of our faculty, so Jim Nolan's here, Lewis Martin's is somewhere back there. I hope you get a sense of all the positive momentum around this space and industry and technology, from Venture Fellows to all the work that Lewis is doing with the Keller Center, Texas Venture Lab. There's a lot of enthusiasm and excitement, I think, across the board in a wide range of ways. So with that, let me introduce our speaker today is Bill. So Bill Gurley has spent over 15 years as a general partner.
This guy talks fast as fuck.
Prior to Benchmark, Bill was a partner with Hummer Winblad Venture Partners. Before entering the venture capital business, he spent 4 years on Wall Street as a top-ranked research analyst, including 3 years at CS First Boston, focusing on personal computer hardware and software. His research coverage included companies like Dell, Compaq, and Microsoft, and he was the lead analyst on the Amazon IPO. In both 95 and 96, Bill was a member of the Institutional Investor All-American Research Team. Prior to his investment career, Bill was a design
All-American
engineer at Compaq
Research
Computer,
Team? Oh my
where he worked on
God,
products
what an
such as the
award.
48650 and Compaq's first multiprocessor server. For the past 15 years, Bill has authored the Above the Crowd blog, which focuses on the evolution and economics of the high technology business. Over his venture career, he has worked with such companies as Grubhub, Nextdoor, OpenTable, Stitch Fix, Uber, and Zillow.com. He received a BS in computer science from the University of Florida in 1989, then cleaned up his resume by coming to the University of Texas for an MBA in 1993. He currently serves on the advisory board of our school and has just been a great supporter for all things we do. So thank you again for coming out. With that, how about a good round of applause for our friend Bill Gurley?
All right, this guy's big dick swinging for sure. This guy's smart as fuck. I mean, all jokes aside,
So
it's a wild resume.
I've been thinking about giving this particular presentation for
Oh
about
my
a
God,
decade.
Blake, you couldn't be
And I've
further
been
away
talking to
from
the
this guy. He's
administration. I was
tall.
inspired after studying
You're
the
short.
stories of three people that you might call luminaries. They were probably heroes of mine when I read about them, and I noticed an overlap, a pattern amongst them. And so that's what I'm here to talk about. Now, how many people in the room have heard of the phrase dream job? Raise your hand. All right, everybody's heard the phrase, so you know what it means. It means chasing a career where you just have immense passion. My partner Kevin Harvey has a phrase that I love. He says, life is a use it or lose it proposition. And for most humans, they take one career path. And so if you only got one shot and then it's all over, why not do what makes you most happy? And so what I'd like to do, so by the way, one of the reasons this is the audience, I want to thank you for being here. This is the audience I wanted to do this presentation to first, because I think coming to an MBA program is this amazingly unique opportunity you have to, you've had your undergrad degree, you've worked a little bit, and now you have this chance to go do whatever you want. And it's an amazing pivot point. And so for me, you're the opportune audience for this, and obviously I want to congratulate you. Thanks for having me. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to start by telling 3 stories of these luminaries, and then after that I'm going to walk through 5 guidelines that I've inferred from what they did. And then there's some special stories at the end as well. So I'm going to start in Orrville, Ohio, which happens to be, anyone know what company was founded in Orrville in 1897?
What the
I'll give you
fuck?
20 bucks if anybody knows.
Levi's.
Smuckers.
Fuck.
That has nothing to do with this presentation.
Those jeans been around for a while, I
So the
swear to
first
God.
gentleman I'm talking about is a guy named Robert Montgomery that grew up in Orrville. This is in 1940, and this is what the town looked like when he did. He attended Orrville High School, where he was a 3-sport letterman, baseball, football, basketball. And he was lucky enough, one of his neighbors knew the coach, Fred Taylor, at Ohio State, and he was able to get a spot on a really good basketball
Chat,
team.
we need more
This is Robert, number
salsa.
24. He's a point guard. That's him peering into the huddle. That's Fred Taylor, the coach of Ohio State at the time. Robert wasn't a starter. He came off the bench, and he didn't get a ton of minutes, but this team had John Havlicek and John Cousy, and his sophomore year, they won the national championship. They played in the national championship his junior and senior year. Those 2 players that I mentioned went on to the NBA, and Robert went into coaching. He spent his first year as a JV coach at a high school and then finagled his way onto the staff at Army. And so at 22, he was an assistant at Army, the Black Knights. They played here in Gillis Fieldhouse. When he was 24, the head coach retired, and he begged for the job. This is him signing the contract. So at 24, he became head coach of a D1 school. Now, what ended up making Robert successful from my point of view isn't what happened inside the 4 walls of the gym where they practice every day. It's what he did outside. In the first 5 years of his coaching career, he befriended 5 of the top basketball minds on the East Coast. This is Red Auerbach. So Havlicek went to Boston. Red was the...
I already know why Blake likes the story, bro. The story this guy's telling, this is like Blake Robbins' career. Just smart as fuck. Does smart shit with smarter people.
Coach at the time, he was able to build a relationship through that. This is Joe Lapchick. That's Claire B. Claire B. coached at Long Island University and has...
This is like Blake's anime, bro. What is Scumpy getting on? You're stuck with me, brother. Or you can go watch Amaranth on Kick or something. I'd probably choose her, too.
best record of any coach in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Robert met Claire when he was 25. When he was 27, Robert drove Claire to Claire's induction into the Basketball Hall of Fame and sat next to him. The next one's Henry Iba. He coached 36 years at Oklahoma State and was, at the time, probably one of the most successful basketball coaches of all time. That's Everett Dean from Indiana, and he met all of them and became friends. Two of them, Lapchick and Iba, he just went to a coach's luncheon where he knew they were going to be, and he said, can I sit next to you? And that's how he met both of them. And then he kept following up and hanging out. A year later, he met Pete Newell. Pete was the greatest basketball mind on the West Coast at the time. They became fast friends. Years later, Pete would induct Robert into the Basketball Hall of Fame. He didn't limit his peer network to basketball coaches. He met football coaches as well. This was the coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. Bo Schembechler, who would go on to coach at Michigan, was his assistant on the basketball team at Army. And he met Bill Parcells around the same time, way before he became a star in the National Football League. And then Doc Councilman was the longtime swimming coach at Indiana and also someone that Robert became friends with. Now, I'm using the name Robert to obscure things a little bit. I'm talking about Bobby Knight. So at age 31, Bobby Knight became head coach at Indiana University. 5 years later, at 36, they went undefeated, both in the...
Wait. Who was the guy at the beginning of the story? Robert? Did you talk about Bobby Knight? The guy that was an assistant coach and then turned the head coach? The main guy that we've been talking about is Bobby Knight? What are the fucking odds of that? You tell me I just need to throw some more chairs at our employees and I'll be fucking legendary? Oh my God.
Regular season and the postseason won the national championship. That's never been repeated since in over 4 decades. At Indiana, he would win 3 national championships, 4 Coach of the Year awards, 11 Big Ten titles.
I'm going to make that DigiDay article a fact now.
And when he retired, he had 902 victories, the most of any coach at the time. As I said, Pete Newell inducted Bobby into the Hall of Fame. I'm going to move on to the next story, and then I'll circle back and you'll see where I'm going. Now I'm going to start in Hibbing, Minnesota. This is about 2 or 3 hours north of Minnesota. Another Robert Zimmerman, grew up in Hibbing. That's what Hibbing looked like when he was young. Even though it's pretty far north of Minnesota, it was a bit of an urban environment. Robert loved music, and in this early photo, he's got a drum. He got a guitar when he was 10 years old, and by high school was playing in a band regularly. They used to cover Elvis and Little Richard. His yearbook says that he's likely to join Little Richard. That didn't happen. But what happened was he went to the University of Minnesota. He didn't go to class. He was hanging out in this place called Dinkytown, which is this photo right here. And at the time, you know, and this is late 50s, early 60s, there's a lot of new stuff happening. Even though he grew up playing rock and roll, he fell in love with folk music. And over, I'd say, 8 or 9 months, he studied every folk album he possibly could. He didn't have a lot of money. Back at the time, you could walk into a record store and listen in a booth. He would do that for hours on hours on hours. He became friends with people that also liked folk music but had money, and he would go to their house and listen to their record collection. He's even accused of having, quote, borrowed their records and not returned them, which is a point of controversy even still today.
I owe you a drink, Matt. You ever going to be outside again? For you, Jonathan Tucker, I'd leave the house just for that occasion. I'd love to. I got a calendar now, too. We could plan it. But, yeah, that'd be great, man. It'd be nice to see you, unfortunately. It'd be nice to shake your hand knowing that you willingly admit that I was a better Call of Duty player than you. It's great. Love to do that.
The next thing that happened, I think, is one of the most ambitious actions anyone that I know has taken to pursue their dream job. He hitchhiked from Minneapolis to New York City. He had a guitar, a suitcase, and $10. And it's 1,200 miles, right? And so if you ask him today why he did it, he'll talk a little bit about chasing the performers. So this is Dave Van Ronk, Peggy Seeger, the New Lost City Ramblers. These were people he was listening to in Minnesota, but these people were in New York City. And so he wanted to see them. But there was really one person he wanted to see, which is Woody Guthrie. So Woody Guthrie had become his hero. And if you just go to Wikipedia once you find out who this is, if you don't know already, he went to New York to find Woody Guthrie. Like, that was his pursuit. Because he had come to have this affection and love for the way Woody played, and he wanted to know everything he possibly could about it. So he went to New York, he found Woody Guthrie, he used to perform for him, and he started hanging out at these 3 venues, the Cafe Wah, the Gaslight Cafe, and Gertie's Folk City. This was the epicenter of folk music at the time, and he would sit in each of these venues for hours upon hours and study what the other artists were doing. Years later, Liam Clancy would say he could perform any one of our songs like us, including tonality, tempo, everything. So he was a mimic. He was studying. He got a big break. He was asked to open for John Lee Hooker at Gerde's one day, and his career got started. This gentleman is Joe Hammond. He was a producer for Aretha Franklin, Billie Holiday, Count Basie. And one day he walked in and found this gentleman, 1961. I think he's 22, 23, something like that. The next year, Robert Zimmerman changes his name to Bob Dylan. John releases the first album. The album does okay. In '63, they released the Freewheelin' Bob Dylan. This album goes to number 22 in the US and number 1 in the UK. And from there, everything was off into the races. In '63, he performed at the March on Washington with Joan Baez, where Martin Luther King spoke his famous speech. A year later, he performed for the first time with Johnny Cash, another one of his heroes. Johnny gave him a guitar and asked if he could record several of his songs. Johnny asked Bob if he could record his songs, which he did. The rest is history, as they say. 100 million albums sold, 11 Grammys, an Oscar, an Emmy. He was introduced into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And then he took it to a whole new level. Kennedy Center Award with Clinton. Barack Obama gave him a Medal of Freedom. And then he topped it off with something that's never been done. He won the Nobel Prize in Literature, the only musician ever to be given such an award. That happened 2 years ago.
I think I need to listen to some Bob Dylan.
All right, this one you won't know as well, but it's equally inspiring. St. Louis, Missouri. The person this time is named Daniel. He grew up in St. Louis. His father was an intelligence officer in the military and moved around Europe quite a bit. After the war ended, his father became a travel agent, and his mother worked with him, and so they traveled quite a bit. Now, because they were travel agents, his mom told him he had to journal everything, so he was forced to go on vacation and take notes. He wasn't that interested in travel, but he loved food. And so when he went back and looked, all the journal notes he had always taken were always about the food they were eating, wherever they were, and he started to associate different places with the food that they
Is this the Michelin
John
story?
Burroughs High School in St. Louis, ended up at Trinity College in Connecticut, where he would spend every weekend in New York City eating food, because that's what he was passionate about. He got a poli-sci major. He went and worked on a campaign for a year. Wasn't that interesting to him, so he went back to New York. Robert Zimmerman was chasing folk music. Danny was chasing food. So his personal life was all about what he could do and going to different restaurants and exploring. He went to work for Checkpoint. They make those things that you attach to clothes in the store so that when you walk out, the beeper goes off. This was early in Checkpoint's life.
What a
He
piece
did
of
incredibly
shit.
well there, and within a year was making $125K a year as a salesman, which he spent the most of it on food in New York City. One night he was out to eat with his uncle and his aunt and his grandmother at Elio's, a restaurant that's still open. And he told them that he was studying for the LSAT. He was going to take the LSAT next year and go up his career ladder again and become a lawyer. To which his uncle replied, will you just stop it? Why don't you go open a restaurant? You know that's what you're supposed to do. Caught him a little off guard, but woke him up. And the next day he took the LSAT. He never sent the scores to a single school, never applied to a single school. He quit his job as a salesman and went to work at a restaurant called Pesca in the front office for $12,500 a year. So he took a 10x salary reduction. The reason he chose Pesca is there was a chef there, an up-and-coming chef called Michael Romano, and he wanted to be around this gentleman. And so he would work during the day in the front office, and then at night he'd beg to do the slop work in the kitchen just so he could get exposure to what was happening there. He was also taking a wine class at night, and he met this gentleman who happened to be the head or one of the top restaurant critics for the New York Times. And so they started hanging out together and going to different restaurants and talking and learning. He did something really interesting. He made a list of 12 icons in the restaurant industry. These were new people that were doing innovative things around opening new high-end restaurants. Wolfgang Puck's the first one, but there were 12 different. A lot of these people are on celebrity chef shows today. And he started studying them. He created a notebook for each and every one of them. What makes them special? What do they do unique? And started looking at their recipes. Then he got even bolder and decided to go to Europe. He took every single one of the connections he had, both in the restaurant industry and the travel industry, through his parents. Plus, when he was at Trinity, he would go do tours in Europe for his parents. And so he had a lot of connections. And he did this. Now, I just had to look this up for the presentation. It's a stagiaire, which I think is a French word for I'll work in a restaurant for free, because that's what he did. One of the restaurants that he worked in, he had to pay $500 a month, which I ran the math, and that's equal to a negative $25,000 a year salary. So he's gone from making 125 to 12 to now he's upside down 25. But what he does is what you think he would do. He studies. So in each and every one of these places, each and every one of these restaurants, he's watching the chef. He's watching the recipes. He goes on the sourcing trips to see how they pick food out of markets or from different fish markets. And he just takes tons of notes. He looks at the decor. He looks at the wine list. And so on the way home from this like 9-month journey, he said it took the entire 8.5-hour flight just to organize the notes. When he gets back to New York, he'll spend another 6 or 7 months searching 100 locations to find the very best location to launch his first restaurant. He's 27 years old when he opens Union Square Cafe. This is Danny Meyer, if for those of you that might know who he is. I love this quote. He's most proud of the studying he did on his own, not the studying that he did at Trinity College. Like it was, and he viewed this as the best work he had ever done as a student. Union Square Cafe.
Isn't Danny Meyer? This is gonna sound like a stupid question. That's Shake Shack. Why does that name sound so familiar?
Cafe is still open today.
So
it's 11 times.
Iconic restaurant, right?
It's the very best restaurant in New York. Danny Meyer would go on to launch 16 high-end restaurants in New York City. 4 have won Michelin stars. He is the undisputed king of high-end restaurants in New York City. But he wasn't done. A lot of these restaurants, Danny would open in areas that needed regentrification.
Fuck Danny Meyer? That seems like a random beef to have. What's wrong with Danny Meyer? What did he do to you?
The bespoke place that people go and then the community evolved, that he would get a lift alongside that. So he typically would look for areas that were on the rise but needed help. One area that needed a lot of help was
Please speak up on the rank play loading bug. Be a man of the people. Yo, Arisen. Listen to me, brother. I am not the Call of Duty community manager, okay? For some reason, in the last week and a half, since I got banned on stream and unbanned, everybody's asking me to fix Call of Duty, bro. I don't fucking work there. I'm not a man of the people, bro. Listen, if I were a man of the people, I wouldn't have texted my guy at Activision to get me unbanned and left all of you fucking people behind. And I did that. And I did do that. Listen, bro, I can't help you with your ban. I can't help you with the loading problem. I'm a very selfish individual. I don't work there, bro. I don't want people coming in here acting like I can help you. I can't help nobody except myself. I can't fix the game. Be mad at them, bro. They got the problems. I didn't start the problems. I just had some people fix them. No, but seriously, bro, I was trying to be funny there. I don't know what the fuck's going on with that loading bug. I've never seen it. I've never experienced it. You're not the first person to tweet me, but you know, maybe I can get you some answers another time. I'm watching Bill Gurley here. So let me finish eating. And then hopefully they get it fixed. I mean, it seems like enough people are having that problem that it should get fixed, but god damn, bro. It's such a minor inconvenience for me, but like half my Twitter feed for the last week and a half has been about, can you get me unbanned? I'm like, yo, I don't even go here. I don't even work there.
Madison Square Park, which wasn't far from Union Square. So he and a bunch of other business people helped launch the Madison Square Conservancy that rebuilt the park. A few years after that happened, they started improving the park. There was a decision made to allow there to be a restaurant in the center of the park. He applied, got the bid, and won, and that was the location of the first Shake Shack. A while later, I'm going to go through something so you'll see the work that went into launching the first Shake Shack. If you go to the first Shake Shack, it doesn't look like this. If you want to eat, it looks like this when it's open. There's always a line. I got to know Danny on the Open Table board. We worked together for over a decade, and he used to tell me I had to keep it a secret, but that this single venue made way more profit than any of the white tablecloth restaurants that he owned. Of course, fast forward today, there's 190 Shake Shacks around the world. 2015, they took Shake Shack public on the NYSE, and it's now worth $2.2 billion. I think there's one here in Austin, correct? So these were the 3 stories. I'd read them all independently, and I noticed that there was a similar strain that was running through each and every one of these stories. And so now I've organized that, and I want to talk to you about it. The first one is the one that I can provide the least amount of help with you about, because I don't know what your passions are.
See, I saw somebody say earlier that these videos like this are useless. Okay. Blake is here. I actually thought those were 3 great stories, very profound. I'm pretty deep in my career. 31, I'm actually not that old. Can you eat those chips louder in the mic? Sorry about the chewing. Here's the problem, bro. All three of those stories, it's about somebody meeting a bunch of people and learning from them and being very calculated, maybe not calculated, but just being a sponge of learning and learning and learning and learning, and then finding the right timing and doing something that you absolutely love. Let me tell you, brother, not only am I socially awkward, but I don't like to meet new people. Okay? All the things that he just laid out in all three of these people, I don't have the willpower, the determination, nor do I have the motor to do this, any of those things. But for those that haven't lost all hope, because I'm kind of comfortable now with the piece of shit that I am, this is going to be very helpful for you guys. This just gave me a lot of perspective that I don't deserve to be successful, but you know, I'd rather be lucky than good at something. Come on.
But my first piece of advice would be to find your passion. Pick a profession of which you have a deep personal interest. There's nothing that's going to make you be more successful than if you love doing what you're doing, because you're going to work harder than anybody else because it's not going to feel like work. It's going to feel like fun.
I would only disagree a little bit with Bill there. The job still feels like a job sometimes, but I like it. We're talking to kids in college. Come on.
I think this is the most important decision you can possibly make in a career, is to make sure you have immense passion for what you're doing. This should be your personal passion, not your parents, not your sisters, not your family generation of expectation. It needs to be something that you're doing on your own. It might be that you're passionate about the same thing as your parents, so like you don't have to run from them. But you need to know that this is something you're doing on your own. And then I also mentioned status and compensation. You know, there are a lot of high-profile careers that make a lot of money and are generally perceived to be areas where successful people go. But if you run at those things and don't have a passion for them, you're going to burn out eventually. It's not going to be where you want to be. And the last point is just you can't fake it. Like somebody else sitting in some other MBA program has a deep passion for whatever career path you're going down, and they're going to smoke you if you don't have it yourself. This is one of my favorite quotes from Bobby Knight. He says, everybody has the will to win. People don't have the will.
Chad, you guys are very nice to me. I guess I'm just naturally a pessimist when it comes to myself, but I appreciate all the kind comments. I do.
To practice. And I think this is the test for whether or not you're actually pursuing your dream job, which is the essence of it that would be
the key is not the will to win. Everybody has it. It's the will to prepare to win. That is important.
Do you enjoy the preparation?
Well, I like that quote.
Everybody enjoys winning. Like, do you enjoy the preparation? The second of the 5 guidelines I'd have for you is hone your craft constantly. It's extremely important to be obsessive about understanding everything you possibly can about your craft. Consider it an obligation, right? Hold yourself accountable. That requires you to keep learning over time. Study the history, know the pioneers. It's the bedrock foundation for what you're going to build upon, and it will help you in networking that you're able to talk the language of the people that came before you. Strive to know more than everyone else about your particular craft, and that can be in a subgroup. And what do I mean by that? Let's say you love esports. Let's just say you've decided, multiplayer gaming, esports, like this is it for you. You grew up gaming, love it.
The fuck did this just come from?
Within the first 6 months of being in this program, you should be the most knowledgeable person at McCombs in esports. Like, that's doable. You should be able to do that. And then by the end of your first year, you should be top 5 of all MBA students. And hopefully when you exit your second year, you're number 1 of any MBA student out there. Doesn't mean you're the best esports person in the world, but you've separated yourself from everyone else that's out there. It's not, I can't make you the smartest or the brightest, but it's quite doable to be the most knowledgeable.
That was fucking bizarre.
It's possible to gather more information than somebody else, especially today. And then lastly, and this is a bit of a caveat, depending on what it is that you're chasing, you might want to go to where the epicenter.
When did this video come out, Blake? Oh, 2018. That's when everybody really loved esports, dude. That was a good time.
Is. And the reason is there's just more networking available there.
You think this guy, Bill,
people are.
is even uttering esports ever again in a speech? This guy probably fucking...
This is an interesting story from Bobby Knight's biography.
They laugh him out of there.
The second time he met with Pete Newell, he walked into the room. So this guy's like 32. Pete Newell's one of the most famous basketball coaches ever. He walks into the room with 74 plays diagrammed on 3x5 cards, sits down in the middle of the floor and says, "Hey, Pete, come go through these with me." So it's probably, like, I don't know if it's audacious or brilliant or what, but it's some people would consider that over the top. But to get the number 1 mentor you can possibly find and make them go through that amount of tedious work. But he did it. Pete did it. They both learned from it, which is interesting. These quotes from the movie No Direction Home, Martin Scorsese did against Dylan, really highlight the point that I'm trying to drive home to you. Most people would think, hey, Bob Dylan, folk singer, you know, probably just had the DNA or got lucky or something. He was studying. Like, he used the word, I'm a musical expeditionary. I looked up expeditionary. An expedition is to travel for scientific research or exploration. And that's what Dylan was doing. There was no one that knew more about folk music than he did when he broke out. He knew more than anybody. And then another guy in Minneapolis that knew him called him a sponge. And then there's a ruthlessness in the way Dylan finds sources, uses them, and moves on. Constantly gathering information and putting it into his own repertoire. I'm going to read from Danny's book for you because I want to drive home this point of studying. You can see I'm a huge fan of Danny. I've got all these markers here. He's one of the
You ever just watch people and you're like, I'm not this competent? Why do you hit me with so many ads? It's programmed so that my daughter can have more money. I'm sorry, brother. It's got to be done. I'm running as many ads as... Actually, I'm not. I'm running the medium amount of ads. There's people out here on here that are doing 7 minutes an hour. I do 5 minutes an hour. And then there's another threshold that's 3. I streamed for an entire month without the programmatic ads. And let me tell you, we're never doing that again. I already talked through this with the chat. A lot of my subs actually know. But listen, bro, if I'm not running these ads the way that it can, I'm just literally wasting time. So I'm going full sellout on the Twitch ads. For me, for sure. But I actually do kind of mean this for my daughter. So I'm fucking... I don't even run them. After I did a month with the ads and a month without them, can't. I got to do it. I'm sorry.
The most genuine humans I've ever met. So he has a restaurant in New York called Blue Smoke, which is actually a barbecue place. So when they were thinking about launching that, he says, in the barbecue, within the 35-mile radius of Austin and the Texas Hill Country, lie 5 towns I revere, each with a distinctly different style of barbecue. The elements of barbecue are limited: ribs, brisket, pulled pork, chopped pork, minced pork, sausage, chicken, coleslaw, beans, and a handful of sides. But it has become an American culinary language with thousands of dialects and accents. I tried to understand each variation. During one 36-hour road trip through North Carolina, I tasted 14 variations on chopped pork, each defined by a subtle and dramatic differences in texture, the degree and type of smoke used, the amount of tomato or vinegar in the sauce, how much heat was applied to the meat, and how well and how much or how little crackling got chopped up and tossed in. That's the level of detail he thinks about food. I really like this one because it has to do with Shake Shack, but as soon as we won the bid, Richard Corraine, my most enthusiastic researcher of road food, and I set off to study burger and shake stands all over the country. We started out, of course, at Ted Drew's Steak and Shake in St. Louis, which he grew up eating, continued on to Kansas City, and individually made stops in Michigan, Culver's, Los Angeles, In-N-Out Burger, Napa, Taylor's, Automatic Refresher, Chicago, Gold Coast Dogs, plus 8 other establishments, Connecticut, he names 3 or 4, always in search of the best of breed. So that's how they did research for Shake Shack, and I think it drives home this point of like understand more than anybody else. This is a bit of an aside. Does anybody know this painting?
Can somebody look up
this is a painting
Mr.
called
Beast?
First Communion. It was painted by Pablo Picasso when he was 15 years
thumbnails and tell me how much
old.
skinny
Most people,
shows?
I think, are brought up and they're told.
Blake, there's a reason why they played this at an NBA program. Man, I thought I was good at what I do, but this is actually just making me feel worse about it. I just do shit until it works. Like, I don't look at anybody else's shit. I used to, not anymore. All these people are way better at being a human being than me. This video is actually making me feel worse than I felt before we started, Blake. I mean, it's very profound, like, and I'm enjoying it. You said you can turn it off. This is not like we're in the car together and you love this song and you wanted to play it and I shit on it and turn something else on. I'm actually enjoying it. But I'm just letting you know that all these successful people, all their stories are actually making me feel very unsuccessful with what my life has amounted to. All these people are really good at finding their way through hard work and research. I just got people like you to do shit for me. How did that happen? I don't know. You just made a calendar for me today, bro. You worked for this guy. This guy's smart as fuck.
About Picasso and
you want to talk about imposter syndrome? I definitely got that fucking disease.
Someone will say, "Oh, a 7-year-old could do that."
I
What
like
they
the
don't
way he
know
drinks
is
that
that
water,
Picasso
too.
was a trained classic artist and had mastered it by the time he was 15. And he had spent time studying the way you would if you had set out to be the greatest painter in the world. And that's why I made this statement, greatness isn't random, it's earned. If you're going to research something, this is your lucky day.
Lock in, I'm
Information
locked
freely
in, I'm
available on
locked
the
in.
internet.
Are you smoking the mulch?
That's the
No,
good
I'm
news.
not
The bad
smoking.
news is you have zero excuse for not being the most knowledgeable in any subject you want because it's right there at your fingertip. And it's free, which is excellent. 3, develop mentors in your field. I don't know if any of you will ever dare to be as aggressive as Dylan, hitchhiking 1,200 miles to find your mentor, but that might be the type of attitude you want to think about in the back of your mind as you pursue mentors. Take every chance you can to find somebody who can teach you about the fields you want to excel in. And you can work your way up the stack. You don't have to jump straight to the top on day one. Treat them with respect, debate things, learn from them, document what you hear, share it with others. Try to get these mentors interested in.
Yo, guys, I think this video right now just made me realize I got invited to go play at fucking Pinehurst for the U.S. Open. And today's the last day to respond to whether I want to go. And I wasn't going to go because, one, I don't like to play golf around people that I don't know because I'm not good at it. And 2, I didn't want to fly all the way to fucking North Carolina to play one round of golf. That just seemed like a lot. But if I'm going to be doing this golf YouTube channel, I probably should go, no? But I don't want to fly it without Haley. And they only cover flight for one person in a hotel room. So all of a sudden, I'm going to the U.S. Open to play one round of golf, and I'm probably going to be in like 3-4 grand by the end of it. Do we do that? Should I go? I got to respond by today. Life is short? Yeah, it could be shorter if my fucking plane crashes. Do you guys not think about that? I mean, it's unlikely to happen, but you know what's unlikely to happen? A plane crashing into my house. We're good. 20 years from now, you're not getting that invite? Yeah, I know, but I can just go fucking play Pinehurst in 20 years. I don't got to go do it on this one day. I could go play Pinehurst right now. But when he's talking about meeting all these people, you don't start at I'm not going to talk to this fucking guy at the PGA. I don't know even if we want to. But I got invited from somebody at the works at the PGA because he said he was a fan of mine, I think. So maybe we could go and do it. What would Chibi do? He would go. But that man's like a golden retriever. If I had to compare him to a dog, he's a golden retriever. What do you guys think is the most... I'm like Gary, bro. I'm lazy as fuck. I'm a little fluffy. And I have crippling anxiety. What type of dog it kind of reminds you of that? Maybe like a little chihuahua, just scared of everything? You're a bulldog, lazy and stubborn? I'll take that. Small meat, too, right? Blake, you're the fucking man, dude. You're the fucking man. We appreciate you, Blake Robbins. Have a great time with that phone call. All right, is he gone? Thank fucking God, bro. He's one of those smart people. I can't watch these smart people videos. They just make me feel like a fucking simple jack, dude. This guy's telling me about all these inspirational. I'm like, yeah, you know what I was doing at fucking 18? I wasn't trying to chase my dreams. I was trying to fucking get past the 20th page on Pornhub and deliver food through a drive-through window. These guys are too smart. They're too competent. He's talking to NBA folks. I can't do that. Shut up and plant the bomb, I said. There you go. No, I actually was kind of enjoying it. I was trying to be funny. All right, let's finish watching this shit. We're only halfway done? Oh, man.
In you and your own development. How do you do this? Send them notes. Tell them when you use their advice to be successful. Send them gifts when you have accomplishments. Get them bought in. So, you know, like one of the reasons American Idol works because you start voting or cheering for somebody and now all of a sudden you feel like you're part of that process, right? Get them to feel that way about your own success. And then on the mentor thing, like never stop. You got to keep on pursuing them. I had the remarkable fortune this year in my 20th year as an investor to meet Stan Druckenmiller and Howard Marks. And they're two people I've admired for a very long time. I read everything that they write anytime they speak. And I got to sit down with both of them for a couple of hours and talk about investing. It was awesome. And the things that they pushed on changed, some of the actions that I'm taking.
We're going denial. Oh my God.
Today in my work. I had already walked you through these examples. Every one of these three luminaries had a mentor that was important to them. Funny story, last week when I was preparing for this presentation, I was rereading Danny's book, and I went back to this notion when he was 25.
Have we really been streaming for 8 hours already? Honestly, now that we're done, pretty much with the stream, I wanted to do a longer just chatting stream for like 2 hours maybe, because I've just been rushing to play games when I get on, and I don't do like a full stream intro, and then by the end of the stream I feel like I didn't actually do anything. I feel like I didn't even talk to anybody. It just feels weird. And now that I've done 8 hours of just chatting, I honestly feel like I'm just as anxious. I'm like, yo, what the fuck did I even do for 8 hours? You know what it is? It's this fucking room. I feel like I'm in Vegas because I've got a constant light. That's the same exact thing. My perception of time is all fucked up. Chat, we did a whole lot of yapping here. Your work day went by quickly. I'm glad, bro. I mean, my day went by fast as fuck, too. I mean, it was fun. I had a good day. I'm kind of just hamming it up. All right, gentlemen. So here we are. Right? We may come back to this video. It's 30 minutes long. Longer. And this is actually very insightful. I'd love to watch the rest of this. Maybe we do that another day. Save the bookmark. I can link it in the chat if you guys want to watch the rest, if you have any interest. But yo, listen, man, I really appreciate you guys kicking it with me all day. I did nothing except for talk and shoot the shit about anything and everything that came to my mind. And this guy, Blake Robbins, came in, bossed up, and put me on a fucking schedule. I actually think his schedule would be super, super helpful for me. And no bullshit, that Patreon